As we continue to explore the hidden history of Tartaria, the shadows cast by its supposed erasure grow only deeper and more intriguing. The architectural legacy of the Old World stands as a silent testament, challenging the official narratives with every impossibly massive stone block and every exquisitely precise mathematical alignment. In cities across the globe, the remnants of a civilization that defies our current understanding of history and technology rise before us, not as ruins, but as living contradictions. These structures, grand and enduring, pose questions that have yet to be answered by conventional archaeology or engineering. When we walk the boulevards of cities like St. Petersburg, Paris, New York, or Istanbul, we are greeted by towering buildings whose very existence seems at odds with the tools and techniques available to the builders of their time. The foundations of these so-called Old World buildings are often composed of granite blocks weighing tens of tons, sometimes as much as 30 tons each, set with such seamless precision that even the thinnest blade cannot slip between them. The official story insists these feats were accomplished through a combination of sheer manpower, rudimentary cranes, horses, and basic pulleys. But modern engineers, armed with the full arsenal of 21st century technology, openly admit the difficulty, if not impossibility, of replicating such work today with the same degree of accuracy. The enigma only deepens when we examine the mathematical principles embedded into these structures. Across continents, buildings from different eras and supposedly unrelated cultures display identical proportions based on advanced mathematical concepts. Sacred geometry, the golden ratio, and precise astronomical alignments. These patterns are found not only in the facades and layouts, but also in the very bones of the buildings, in their staircases, domes, and columns. It is as if the architects of these edifices were working from a shared blueprint, a code that modern history tells us could not have existed. Step inside these architectural marvels, and the mystery persists. Grand staircases, carved from single pieces of marble, seem to float unsupported, defying gravity and common sense. Ceilings are adorned with intricate, three-dimensional patterns, their surfaces so perfectly curved and their acoustics so finely tuned that even today's best architects struggle to explain how such feats could be achieved without advanced computational design and precision machinery. Columns of massive scale repeat with a uniformity that suggests mass production on a scale unthinkable for the era, down to the millimeter, with no visible variation or error. The most startling revelation comes when we compare these features across the globe. Identical architectural elements, ornate facades, complex dome, and moors, star-shaped fortifications appear in Russia and India, in the heart of Europe, and across the American continent. These structures not only share design elements, but also the same mysterious construction techniques, the same impossible stonework, and the same mathematical harmonies. How could such uniformity arise in a world supposedly divided by vast oceans and cultural barriers? Long before the era of instant communication or standardized education, conventional explanations falter in the face of this evidence. The idea that countless architects, separated by thousands of miles and centuries of time, would independently arrive at the same design decisions and construction methods stretches credulity. The simplest and most elegant explanation is that these buildings were not the product of isolated, primitive societies, but rather the work of a single, advanced civilization, one with standardized architectural knowledge and the technological means to implement it on a global scale. This was Tartaria, a civilization whose fingerprints are etched into the very stones of our cities, hidden in plain sight. But if Tartaria left such an indelible mark on the physical world, what became of its technology? The evidence suggests a systematic pattern of suppression, not just of Tartarian technology, but of any rediscovery or reinvention of similar advances throughout history. This pattern is not the stuff of isolated incidents or mere historical footnotes. It is a timeline that stretches from the fall of Tartaria to the modern day, encompassing the stories of inventors and visionaries whose breakthroughs threatened to upend the established order. The early 20th century brought Nikola Tesla, a man whose experiments with wireless energy transmission at the Wardenclyffe Tower mirrored the supposed capabilities of Tartarian power structures. Tesla's vision was one of free, limitless energy broadcast through the air, a world emancipated from fossil fuels and central control. Yet his dream was cut short. The moment it became clear that his technology could not be metered, could not be controlled or commodified, his funding was withdrawn by J.P. Morgan, one of the era's most powerful oil and banking magnates. The Wardenclyffe Tower was demolished, and Tesla's research was buried in obscurity. Nor was Tesla an isolated case. In the 1930s, Royal Raymond Rife developed a technology that, by using specific frequencies, could destroy cancer cells, a breakthrough that could have revolutionized medicine. Instead, his laboratory was burned, his equipment confiscated, and his name scrubbed from the annals of mainstream science. The pharmaceutical industry, threatened by a treatment that could not be patented or monopolized, ensured that Rife's work would never see the light of day. Fast forward to the 1980s, and we encounter Stanley Meyer, whose invention of a water-powered car, capable of running entirely on water by splitting hydrogen through resonant frequency, posed an existential threat to the oil industry. Meyer refused to sell his technology to corporate interests, and shortly thereafter died under suspicious circumstances. His research was seized, and the world was told to forget. These stories are not isolated curiosities. They form a continuous thread, a deliberate pattern of suppressing technologies that could liberate humanity from the shackles of fossil fuel dependency, a dependency that was systematically imposed after the fall of Tartaria. Hidden away in patent offices around the globe are thousands of revolutionary inventions, classified under the guise of national security and withheld from public view. Free energy systems, advanced healing technologies, and devices that could transform our civilization are locked away, deemed too dangerous for the world to see. This pattern is not unique to the modern era. The suppression of knowledge and technology is as old as civilization itself, woven into the very fabric of human history through a process known as the reset mechanism. The story of Tartaria is not the first act in this ongoing drama. It is merely the most recent. History is littered with the ruins of civilizations that, by all evidence, possessed knowledge and technology far beyond what their official timelines allow. The Egyptians, with their precisely aligned pyramids and inexplicable construction techniques, the Maya, whose astronomical observations rival those of the present day, the Sumerians, whose records hint at mathematical and cosmological understanding lost to time. Each of these cultures rose to dizzying heights only to be inexplicably reset, stripped of their knowledge, their history rewritten, their people plunged into regression. These resets are not random events, but cyclical phenomena that correspond with cosmic cycles, periods of approximately 12,000 years, marked by astronomical alignments and cataclysmic events. The fall of Tartaria coincided with the end of just such a cycle in the 1800s, a time marked by global upheaval, natural disasters, and sweeping social change. The mechanism of the reset is chillingly consistent. Whether through natural cataclysms or engineered events, a civilization's infrastructure is destroyed, its records burned, its memory wiped clean. A new power structure emerges, rewriting history to suit its own ends and imposing a technological regression on the population. The mud flood that entombed Tartarian cities was either an act of nature seized upon by opportunistic rulers or a deliberately engineered event designed to erase all trace of the old world. In its aftermath, the survivors were left with only fragments of their former knowledge, and a new narrative was imposed, one that denied the very existence of what came before. Each reset is followed by a period of enforced ignorance, a time when the collective memory of humanity is systematically erased. The methods used are as varied as they are effective. The destruction of libraries and archives, the rewriting of textbooks and historical records, the suppression of dissenting voices and alternative histories. The goal is always the same: to ensure that the population cannot remember, cannot question, cannot reclaim the knowledge that was once theirs. The evidence of these resets is written into the geological record. Layers of mud and silt burying entire cities, Abrupt changes in architecture and technology, sudden breaks in the historical narrative. And now, as the cosmic cycle turns once more, we find ourselves at a crossroads. The awakening to the truth of Tartaria, and of all the civilizations that came before, signals the approaching end of another cycle and the possibility of a new renaissance. At the heart of the Tartarian legacy lies the most profound revelation of all: the existence of a worldwide architectural grid, a network of buildings and structures that functioned not merely as monuments or places of worship, but as components of a global energy system. When we map the locations of these structures, the cathedrals, the star forts, the monumental domes, we find that they align along precise geometric patterns known as ley lines, forming a planetary grid that once harnessed the natural energies of the Earth. These buildings were designed with purpose, their architectural features serving specific technological functions. The domes, often clad in copper or gold, acted as receivers for atmospheric electricity, drawing energy from the very air. Spires and towers, pointed and metallic, served as transmitters and amplifiers, distributing energy throughout the network. Star forts, with their intricate geometric designs, were not military installations as history would have us believe, but distribution nodes, optimized for the collection and dispersal of electromagnetic energy. The precision of these designs is staggering. The angles and dimensions of star forts are mathematically perfect, their placement along ley lines deliberate and calculated. The uniformity of architectural features across continents, regardless of culture or era, suggests a level of global coordination that defies the official narrative. These were not isolated feats of engineering, but components of a worldwide system, a wireless energy grid that rendered the need for wires, power plants, and polluting fuels obsolete. The implications are profound. If such a system existed, it would explain the sudden and urgent need for the construction of the modern electrical grid in the aftermath of Tartaria's fall. The tangled web of wires, poles, and power stations that now dominate our world are the crude replacements for a technology far more elegant and efficient, one that was deliberately destroyed and erased from memory. Yet, the erasure of Tartaria was not accomplished by physical destruction alone. It required a systematic cultural memory wipe, a coordinated effort to ensure that no trace of the old world remained in the collective consciousness of humanity. This was achieved through a variety of means, each more insidious than the last. In the late 1800s, just as Tartaria was being scrubbed from maps and records, governments around the world began implementing standardized education systems. Compulsory schooling, uniform textbooks, and rigid curricula replaced the diverse and localized knowledge that had previously flourished. Children were no longer taught the history of their own communities, but a sanitized, standardized narrative designed to reinforce the new order. At the same time, the destruction of libraries and archives accelerated. Fires, both accidental and suspicious, consumed city records, rare books, and historical newspapers. The great book burnings of the 19th century erased vast swaths of human knowledge, conveniently at the very moment when the new narrative was being imposed. Language itself became a tool of erasure. Spelling reforms and grammar simplifications made older documents increasingly inaccessible, ensuring that even those who wished to seek the truth would find it difficult to decipher the records of the past. The subtle but relentless march of linguistic change drove a wedge between the present and the past, severing the link to the knowledge that had survived the reset. Perhaps most devastating of all was the use of trauma-based mind control on a societal scale. Wars, economic depressions, and manufactured crises created a climate of fear and uncertainty, making populations more willing to accept the new narrative in exchange for the promise of stability. The emergence of mass media sealed the deal, providing a constant stream of reinforcement for the official history while branding alternative perspectives as dangerous or delusional. The result was a population that could no longer even imagine the possibility of a lost civilization more advanced than their own, a population that accepted limitation and scarcity as the natural state of humanity. But the story does not end with suppression. Today, despite centuries of erasure, a global awakening is underway. Independent researchers and citizen historians are combing through the evidence, documenting the architectural anomalies that persist in every city, and sharing their findings with a worldwide audience. The internet has become the new Library of Alexandria, a place where knowledge that was once hidden can be rediscovered and disseminated. Modern inventors, inspired by the principles of Tartarian technology, are once again experimenting with free energy devices and resonance technologies. The breakthroughs of Tesla, Rife, and Meyer are being revisited, refined, and in some cases, replicated. The dream of a world powered by clean, abundant energy, free from the chains of fossil fuel dependency, no longer seems so far-fetched. Most importantly, we are witnessing a profound shift in consciousness. People everywhere are beginning to question the narratives they have been fed, to seek out the truth for themselves, and to reconnect with the lost legacy of a civilization that once spanned the globe. The recognition that our current technological paradigm is a temporary aberration imposed by those who sought to control and limit humanity is spreading like wildfire. This is the true gift of the Tartarian awakening. The realization that the world as we know it is not the only world that is possible. The same cosmic cycles that brought about the fall of Tartaria now offer us the opportunity for a new renaissance, a chance to reclaim our technological birthright and build a civilization that honors the earth, values knowledge, and fosters abundance for all. The evidence is all around us, waiting to be discovered. Buried first floors and bricked-up windows hint at a different past. Domes and spires, once dismissed as mere decorations, reveal their true purpose as components of a forgotten energy grid. The architectural marvels that dot our cities are not relics of a primitive age, but the surviving fragments of a lost golden era. To reclaim our Tartarian heritage is to reclaim our future. It is to challenge the narratives that have kept us in the dark, to seek out the knowledge that has been hidden from us, and to build a world that reflects the true potential of humanity. It is to recognize that the history we have been taught is not the only history that exists, and that the future we have been promised is not the only future that is possible. As the lights of awakening flicker to life across the globe, we stand on the threshold of a new era. The suppression of knowledge can only last so long. The truth, once glimpsed, cannot be unseen. Each new discovery, each new connection, brings us closer to the day when Tartaria is restored to its rightful place in the annals of history, not as a footnote, but as the foundation upon which a new civilization can be built. The journey is just beginning. Each of us has a role to play in this great awakening, whether by documenting the evidence in our own communities, sharing knowledge with others, or simply refusing to accept the limitations imposed by those who fear the true potential of humanity. The path ahead will not be easy, but the rewards are beyond measure. Imagine a world where energy is free and abundant, where technology serves humanity rather than enslaving it, where knowledge is honored and preserved rather than suppressed and destroyed. This is the world that Tartaria offers us, a world that can be reclaimed if we have the courage to seek the truth, to challenge the narrative, and to awaken to our own potential. In the end, the story of Tartaria is not just a story of loss and suppression, it is a story of hope, a reminder that, no matter how thoroughly the truth may be buried, it can always be rediscovered. The architectural impossibilities that stand before us are not monuments to a forgotten past, but beacons lighting the way to a brighter future. So look around you, examine the buildings in your city, the history in your textbooks, the stories you have been told. Question everything. Seek out the anomalies, the contradictions, the traces of a world that once was. Share what you find, connect with others, and add your voice to the growing chorus of those who refuse to be silenced. Because the Great Awakening is underway, and the truth of Tartaria is only the beginning. The future is ours to reclaim. A Tartarian awakening, on hidden technology, architectural evidence, hash free energy, future, reclaiming our history, hash great awakening.